Before we dive into today's episode, I want to extend a special invitation to all of our listeners. If you're considering adoption, navigating the home study process, or simply curious about your options, RG Adoption Consulting is here to guide you. Visit our website at www.rgadoptionconsulting.com/contact to schedule a complimentary chat. Our multi-agency approach is a strategic way to accelerate your adoption process without putting all your eggs in one basket. This strategy prevents you from feeling stuck with one agency, especially after a significant financial commitment. Why not consider a multi-agency approach with lower initial fees? We believe it makes a lot more sense. Plus, the support and education you receive through our services are aspects you might not expect you'll need until you're deep into the process. Reach out to us at rgadoptionconsulting.com/contact. We're here to support your adoption journey every step of the way. Your dream is to become a mom. My dream is to help you get there. I'm Rebecca Gruenspan, a single mom through domestic adoption and an adoption consultant for over a decade. I'll be your guide, along with other adoption professionals and members of the adoption constellation, walking you step by step down this beautiful and complex path of adopting your baby. When I was going through the adoption process, I had no idea what I was doing, what I needed to know, or more importantly, who to trust. Well, after helping hundreds and hundreds of families grow through the beauty and complexity of adoption, I've learned more than a thing or two, and let me tell you, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. This isn't just another podcast sharing adoption stories, but it's for you if you're genuinely committed to diving in with an open heart, eager to learn everything there is to know about adopting a baby so that you can show up for yourself and your child in the best way possible. This podcast is for you if you're ready to put your newfound knowledge into action. Adoption isn't for the weak of heart, and it certainly isn't done when your baby gets placed in your arms. If that's what you think, I'm afraid you're living in La La Land. My promise to you is to keep it real if you promise to keep digging. We'll acknowledge the hard, and we'll also celebrate the joy that is adoption. You ready? Let's do this. What up, what up, what up, what up? What up, people in adoption land? Hi. Whoa, what a week it's been in the media, in my personal life, in our families' lives, and I'm here to spill it all. So, who else is here for it? In my personal life, I just celebrated my son as he became a Bar Mitzvah in the Jewish world. He became a man. Just like that, at age 13, the Jews say, "You're a man now." So we did that. That was, you guys, it was magic. That's the only way I know how to explain it. The whole weekend was magic. So let me tell you a couple things about it. And if you think this doesn't have to do with adoption, oh, it does. It does. So stay with me. Hold on, please. So the bar mitzvah was on Saturday. On Thursday, we welcomed into our home my son's dad, his birth father, his wife, and my dad's birth father's wife, not my son's wife, and 4 of my son's half siblings, who stayed with us for 6 nights, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful to see them all just hanging out and basking in each other's company, and it worked out so, so great. So that was part of it. And it was amazing that, here is a family who has never heard of a bar mitzvah, probably never knew Jewish people, and they came, they celebrated, they participated. He was up and said some words, and we hugged together, and we cried together, and we laughed together, and it was just a beautiful, magical weekend. And other than that, I'm a single mom. I kind of did all of this on my own accord. Obviously, you can't do anything without your village, so shout out to all my villagers. You know who you are. But literally, we were up on a ladder all day on Friday, hanging Mexican flags and lights and putting things together and putting all the centerpieces together, and it all worked. The whole thing. We had a Friday night dinner, Saturday morning service, then a lunch, then a party, then a Sunday brunch at my house, and then they left yesterday at we got up and said goodbye to them at 4:30 in the morning. Needless to say, we are tired, and my son's homesick today. But what a beautiful testament to open adoption. It was, I just can't say much more about it. It was really, really amazing. So there's that. While all this bar mitzvah celebration was going on, evidently a letter came out from the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, to adoption intermediaries, warning them against misleading parents. And evidently, lots of consultants, facilitators, advertisers received this warning letter. I did not, thankfully, although I did read every word, and it really has nothing to do with me. They're really warning people who are intermediaries between families and birth moms who are making an adoption plan, charging people to be the intermediary even though they are unlicensed entities. Now, adoption consultants are also not licensed. Technically, we are not intermediaries. We do not work with birth moms, so they are not on one side of the equation for us. At least they shouldn't be. If you are working with a consultant and you know they do work with expectant moms, you might want to be careful. I do not work with expectant moms. I never have worked with expectant moms. I've never been on the phone with an expectant mom other than to interview them and to learn from them. I have never been in a room with an expectant mom. I've never been in a room where my families were signing adoption papers. So I don't have anything to do with that. So as I read this, I did not feel threatened, as I don't think that it's talking to me. Although a lot of consultants did get it. Why? I don't know. I don't know that everybody deserved to get it. But certainly it was a warning for people to be more open and transparent with numbers and not make promises that you can't keep. While I may say that I can help families adopt quicker than they might be able to do it on their own, that is mostly true, and the majority of our families have indeed adopted in less than a year from either signing up with us or at least signing up with their agencies. We have all of the backing to show that. Our statistics are on our website, and we have the paperwork to prove it. So we are not representing anything that isn't the norm for our families under our services. So there's that. I guess another interesting article was just came out through the New York Post, I think it was, the imprint, about adoption, not the imprint, the New York Post, about adoption and race, naming some big players in the adoption world. So there's that. Things to look out for. So many different views, it's so complicated. I just did an interview with somebody for one of my podcast episodes talking about ethics and who makes the decisions, what's ethical, what's not ethical. Some of it is black and white, but most of it is gray. And it's really, really difficult. And I think there's a lot of new laws about advertisers and support to birth moms, and it's all still so gray because there are so many nuances in adoption. Okay, inside of our community, we had a lot of discussions, so I want to bring up what is being talked about. And the first thing is around grants and subsidies. So we asked our families, out of curiosity, who received grants and subsidies, and what that looked like and how that helped them, etc. So I want to read some of those answers because I think it could be really helpful for you, and it may give you some ideas. It also may, just spark some little nuggets for you. One person said, I was laid off from my company before we had the pleasure of adopting our son. However, the company provides $40,000 in adoption or surrogacy benefits for all U.S. employers. We tapped into about $17,000 of this prior to and after my layoff, but before I lost benefits. This paid for consulting services, our home study fees, and to get on the list of a few agencies. We were devastated to lose this money prior to finalizing, and I sent a letter to the CEO explaining the impact of this layoff on employees on the adoption or surrogacy journey, which turned quite a few heads, but ultimately didn't help us. Good for her. I feel very fortunate to have had access to the money that we did and know that had we not had it, things certainly would have been a little bit more challenging for us. Someone else said, I was reimbursed $25,000 from my company after the adoption was final. Once we finalized, we sent a receipt for our agency fees for match placement, which covered the entire $25,000. Wow. Keep in mind, it was taxed like a bonus, so we lost a good chunk of that to tax. It also increased our taxable income for the year, which could put you in a higher tax bracket. This was information that I really struggled to find, so had no insight until it was paid on how it would work with taxes. Great insight. I had no idea of that either, and I don't know if all companies work that way or not. I would venture to guess that they do.
Before we go on, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go away. We still have so much to talk about. Hey there, Adoption Roadmap fam. Are you ready to take the next step on your journey to parenthood? If so, head over to our website and take our quiz. It's called, Are You Ready to Adopt? It's not just about testing your knowledge. It's about making sure you're emotionally and practically prepared for the beautiful, complex journey of adoption. Let's make your dream of parenthood a reality. Go to rgadoptionconsulting.com and take the Are You Ready to Adopt quiz today. That's rgadoptionconsulting.com. The quiz is free, and it will let you know where you are in the process and if you're ready to jump into your adoption journey.
Another person who works for a university said that they provided $10,000 in adoption-related reimbursements. Interestingly, they provided the reimbursement whether the adoption was successful or fails. or falls through. They pay upon placement rather than finalization, which was a very nice perk with all the new baby expenses that were incurred when we brought our little boy home. Another person said no help from either of our employees. At the time, we just saved up and paid for everything along the way. My employer started providing $25,000 in adoption reimbursement a few years ago. Can apply for reimbursement after placement and up to 6 months after finalization. We ended up submitting after finalization when we had our final agency statement and were able to get it better coordinated with our adoption tax credit plan. This did not impact a lot of decisions we made because we knew we still needed the money up front. And we tried to approach the process as if the money wasn't going to come through. Policies change, job situations change, as we just read, etc. So we knew it wasn't safe to depend on the refund coming through later, but was a relief when it did, for sure. And getting this later on did help with all the new baby expenses, fortify emergency fund, and start a college fund for the baby. We had access to $0, but my husband was offered FMLA, which is definitely something to ask about, and something people don't know, at least when I went through, is that FMLA does not, the Family Medical Leave Act, allows you to take up to X amount of weeks off for maternity leave. It's unpaid. What a lot of people don't know is that it does not have to be taken all at one time. So if you can choose how to take that. So for instance, when I came, I don't know how many months it was, but like I took a week off or 2 weeks off, and then I took off every Friday until I used it all up. So, my husband's work reimbursed us $10,000 once we submitted proof of finalization. We're waiting for our Ohio adoption assistance application to be reviewed. If that's approved, we could get up to $20,000 since our son was medically complex. Okay, this is something else I want to bring up. A lot of states, probably every state, has programs to assist children through adoption. For instance, in Ohio, there is something called the PASS program through something else called Ohio CAN, K-A-N. I don't know what it all, Kinship Adoption Network or something like that. Anyways, this program allows me to access funds for therapeutic services that we may need. And I only qualify because my son was adopted and needs XYZ services, whatever services, any kind of therapeutic services. And you can get up to X amount of thousands of dollars every year. And then every year you need to reapply again. And I think you can just keep getting it as long as you get all the paperwork that they need, a letter from the doctor saying he needs this, blah, blah, blah. And they helped me with it. It's very helpful. And in Ohio, at least, it is not based on financial need. And it is not based on having a child that is medically complex, just needing therapeutic services. Now, medically complex children, if you know up front that you are adopting a child with medical needs, you should be asking the agency you are adopting through if they will apply for a subsidy for you. I think they have to do it. Now, there might be other things that you can apply to, but from my understanding, there are programs, and I had a conversation with Jennifer Kelly on the podcast, which I will link to, but subsidies for medically complex children need to be applied for through the agency that you adopted from. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty positive that that is the situation. So you should be asking your agency up front, are you willing to do this? And if they don't know how, reach out to your consultant, go look it up, try to get them the help they need to help you. So I did want to bring those two things up. One person said, my husband's company did not have any adoption benefits, but we wrote a letter to HR and they added a $5,000 benefit. Bravo! So we received a check after we finalized. Never hurts to ask. I absolutely love that. And if you go to the website of the Dave Thomas Foundation, at least they used to have this and I think they still do, there is a whole packet that you can download to send to your HR. It also has on that website a list of companies that have adoption benefits. The other person that may know about who has adoption benefits, although it's after the fact, so forget it. I was going to say your adoption finance coach. They help a lot of companies. Their side company, Vesta, helps a lot of companies provide adoption benefits. So it wouldn't hurt to reach out to Vesta. You can look that up. They are an adoption employee benefit company, and it's run by Kelly Ellison, who also runs your adoption finance coach. I will link to that episode as well. Finally, as a teacher, I didn't receive any grants or benefits. I used FMLA leave, which I was only paid for using whatever sick days I had banked with my school district throughout the year. My husband received $10,000 to cover expenses and an additional week of paid leave. So there you have it. There is all sorts of things that you need to know in there, and that if you don't have it, ask. You never know. Okay, the other thing I want to bring up is there was a conversation about the Ronald McDonald House allowing families to stay with them until ICPC is approved. And there was a question on whether or not you can stay there if your child's not in the NICU, which I think they have to be, I'm not sure. But here were some of the answers about the Ronald McDonald House, which is an amazing benefit and an amazing organization that you should know about if your child is going to have a NICU stay. Not all hospitals and cities have a Ronald McDonald House, but if they do, utilize it. They're wonderful, wonderful places. One of the families said, we stayed in a Ronald McDonald House while our baby was in the NICU, and once she was discharged, the front desk at the Ronald McDonald House told us we were allowed to stay until ICPC cleared. However, my understanding is you only get a room at Ronald McDonald if your baby is in the hospital for an extended period of time, not just for 2 nights. Every house is run differently, so it could be the agency has built a connection with the Ronald McDonald House, and if they are not full with long-staying guests, they may have a room. Interesting. You could also ask your agency if they know. And availability is tough. I wasn't guaranteed a room, and my daughter was in the NICU. I've never heard of them letting someone stay if they're not at the Children's Hospital. Most births are at other hospitals. They may be specific to the agency. We were at a Ronald McDonald House for a few nights while our daughter was in the NICU. They did offer that we could continue to stay until she was discharged. We opted not to in favor of having more room at an Airbnb. I agree with the comment above that availability is tough. We only got in towards the back end of our stay. And some other comments said that after the baby was discharged, they were offered to stay until they got cleared to go home, which is so nice. So if you have that that opportunity and that benefit nearby where you are adopting from and your baby is going to be in the NICU, definitely look into it. It's free. They feed you. I think they have a washer and dryer. So it's very, very helpful and beneficial. One other thing that was brought up, somebody asked what they might get their child's birth mother for the child's first birthday. We want to honor her and ensure she knows she's part of our celebration and find a way to include her, her son that she is parenting. Not sure if he knows about the adoption or not. He was very young when it happened. One person said that they did a really nice photo book that's a great gift always. You know what? We didn't get a lot of answers to that one, but a photo book is a beautiful gift, or artwork, I would say, something like that. And if nothing else, maybe a phone call or just a letter. I just got a call from a woman who is matched. It's getting closer. And she started freaking out because her and the expectant mom are talking on a weekly basis, and she didn't respond right away. So she's worried that maybe she changed her mind. The fact is, number one, she's changing her phone and getting a new number, and the agency already knew that. And which happens a lot, by the way. That is a very common thing, that expectant moms lose their phone, get a new phone, change their numbers for whatever reason. And also, it's very normal to start freaking out when you're getting closer and closer to the date of the birth. That is normal. I told her to wait a week. If mom doesn't call after another week, because it's been her MO to call all the time, but we know she's changing her phones, then we can start freaking out together. But it's a little too early, and also very normal that it's getting closer and she is freaking out. So normal stuff. I think I'm going to leave it there. That was a lot. I will cover some other stuff next week in adoption. I'll just move that to next week and see what else comes up in our community. But I feel like there has been a lot of movement lately, which is good. So that's what I've got for you. I hope that you have been enjoying my amazing conversations with our guests on the Adoption Roadmap podcast. And listen, I'd really appreciate if you have been. Share your favorite episodes with somebody who you think would benefit from hearing it. And if you wouldn't mind giving us a review, that would mean the world to me. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful weekend, and I'll see you next week in This Week in Adoption. Bye for now.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Adoption Roadmap podcast. If you did, I have a few favors to ask of you. First, please hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're at it, I'd love to hear your takeaways. Please write a review and let me know what you liked. And if you have a question or a suggestion on what you'd like to hear, I'd love to hear that too. Please shoot me an email at support@rgadoptionconsulting.com and let me know what you'd like to hear about. And if you have a question, I may just answer it online. Thanks again for listening. Tune in every Wednesday and Friday morning for a brand new episode of the Adoption Roadmap podcast. Until next time, bye-bye.